I was 33, and I woke up early in the morning. I was going to go see my teacher, and I sat down to meditate. And as soon as I sat down, I heard the sound of a bird outside. And when I heard the sound of the bird, a question spontaneously arose in my mind. Who hears this sound? So as soon as the question arose, there was a shift of perception. A shift in perception where the sound of the bird and me, the one hearing the bird call, was all one thing. So then after a while, I got up and walked out of the room, and everywhere I looked, everything I looked at, everything I experienced to be my own self. And so that was the simplified version.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And since that time, I guess what we call the world has never seemed separate or apart from me.
Mm.
So that was really there's more to it, but that was the essence of the experience.
그러면 그 나라는 느낌과 세상이라는 느낌이 구별이 없는데 여전히 나로 느껴지는 것은 있는 겁니까?
Not in any conventional sense. No.
그러면 어떤 느낌이길래 나라는 이름을 붙였습니까?
It's just a conventional way to communicate. If I was to try to remove all personal pronouns, it would sound very awkward.
오케이. 자, 그렇다면 그때 나와 세상과 세상을 경험하는 그 지각이 일체를 느꼈다고 했는데 그러면서 모든 게 나로 느껴졌다 이렇게 말했는데
Yes.
왜 모든 것이 나가 아니라 세상으로 느껴졌다라고 여기 말하지는 않았느냐면 표현이 왜 그렇게 쓰질 않았냐?
It's all the same. I could have expressed it that way. Yes. I could have expressed it that everything is the Buddha. It could be expressed many different ways. If I was like a Christian, for instance, I would say that I see God in everything.
Okay. 자, 그렇다면 일반인의 마음과 지금 당신이 마음에서 경험하고 있는 것은 근본적으로 무슨 차이입니까?
I suppose that, well, I can't say what other people experience, but what I experienced prior to that was the experience of myself as sort of a separate individual. And after the experience, I no longer experienced myself simply as a separate individual.
그러면 지금 당신은 말하고 있는 우리와 다르다고 느끼지 않는다는 겁니까?
The language is very difficult, first of all. Very difficult to describe this, so please be patient with me. So at first, for a while, all I experienced was no separation. And then later, so now I can experience both. I can experience the absolute reality of oneness, and at the same time, the relative reality of you and I being two, I guess three people talking together.
Okay.
So it's now I can experience individuality and unity. It's all one at the same time now. It's all the same thing.
그러면 그 개별성과 전체성을 같은 것으로 경험하는 것은 뭡니까?
I don't know if this will be confusing, but the experience is that it's the perception that perceives it. There isn't a perceiver behind the perception. It is just the perception of unity, perception of separation, without someone or something that does the perceiving.
자, 그러면 어린애가 아직 이 분별이 생기기 이전의 어린애 역시 지각자가 없이 지각하는 과정을 거칩니다. 어릴 때 우리가. 그와 같다는 겁니까? 2살 이전, 예를 들면.
Yeah, that's before they have developed self-consciousness.
네.
Right?
지금 그렇다는 건가?
That's a merged state of being. What I would call a merged state of being. Which is not exactly what I'm talking about. It's not the same. You see, because the baby is the infant. They're in a state of consciousness that's prior to the development of self-consciousness. And what I'm talking about isn't a regression back to that state. It's actually something that's beyond the experience of self-consciousness.
오케이. 그러면은 뭐가 다른 거죠?
Yeah. So the child, in a baby, they're in a merged state. So in a merged state, they really have no. They don't have any consciousness of the state of being that they're in. That's first. That's number one. They're just in the state of being that they're in. They're just in a particular merged state, but they have no consciousness of what state they're in. And the experience of what we sometimes call unity, there's an absolute knowing of the state of being that you're in. There's nothing unconscious about it. And it's very hard to describe, so
Okay.
It's very challenging, even for me, to really convey the difference. It's a very good question. So let's start here. First of all, a baby is in a state which is pre or before self-consciousness. Okay, start there.
Okay.
Okay. So, and then the baby develops self-consciousness. So they become aware of themselves as a distinct, separate entity.
Okay.
Okay. And then beyond that is the experience of being, you could say being the world, but you know it. See, a child doesn't, they're experiencing it, but they don't know it. Enlightenment is you're experiencing unity and you know it. You're conscious of it. And you're aware of the contrast between the divided state and the unified state. You're aware of that contrast. You know the difference. So the baby's merged state is a state that's prior to self-consciousness, and the awakened state is the state that is transcendent of self-consciousness.
오케이. 그러나 여전히 자기가 그 분열되어 있다라는 것을 모르던 아이가 분열되어 있다는 것을 아는 일반 의식을 지나서 유나이트 전체와 다르지 않다라는 걸 의식하잖아. 어웨어 한다 그랬어.
네.
그 어웨어 역시 일종의 어웨어 하는 자가 있기 때문에 그런 거 아니냐 이거지.
Consciousness is what's conscious.
그러면 의식한다는 것은 기본적으로 분별한다는 거 아닙니까?
In self-consciousness, yes, discrimination.
Discrimination means there are differentiation too. So what is there is a like a perceive and perceiver.
Yes.
Eh? What is it? What's the difference?
The difference between what you just described and the awakened state is when the perceived and the perceiver are one thing, one experience, one perception. Not two different things.
마치 뱀이 자기 꼬리를 무는 것처럼?
Yes, yes, yeah, yes, exactly.
Okay.
Good image.
So, 그러면 지금 당신은 우리를 인식하는 것이 다르지만 같다고 여긴다는 건가? 해줘.
선생님의 질문을 제가 못 알아들었어요.
어.
다르지만 같다고 말하는
그게 지금 그거잖아. 지각자와
네.
지각 대상이 다르지 않다고 여기면서도 다름이 있다는 거거든.
네,
여전히
네.
분열이 있어.
네.
인식하고 지각하려면 나눠져야 되니까 그 얘기를 우리가 한 거야.
네네.
그런데 지금 얘기는 나눠져 있지만 나눠져 있지 않다 얘기를 하는 거거든.
네네.
그래서 내가 묻는 거야.
네.
그러면 지금 우리가 당신이 보는 우리는 다르잖아. 자기와 우리는 다르게 여기겠지, 인식하지.
네.
첫 번째, 그렇지만 그게 일반적인 마음이야. 그렇지만 동시에 다르지 않다가 있다라는 의미라는 거지.
Yes,
At the same
and
time.
all at the same time. Yes.
아하, 오케이.
Yes.
그래서-
There's differentiation and no differentiation at the same time.
오케이. 자, 그걸 다른 예를 들자면 이 내 오른손과 왼손은 다르지만 여전히 같은 내 몸이라는 것. 하나라고 나는 느낀단 말이지. 그와
네.
유사하다고 할 수 있을까, 설명을?
Yeah, good. I think that's a good metaphor. Yeah, yeah.
오케이. 이게 참 놀라운 상태라고 생각되는데 분별 없음과 분별 있음이 동시에 있다는 것은 참 놀라운 상태라고 생각한다.
Yeah, I guess it's strange. It's odd at first. Takes a while to get used to it. So I think this is what they mean in Buddhism when they say the absolute and the relative are one. That's what they're really getting at. The absolute, which is unity, and relative, which is differentiation, are actually one. They can be happening at exactly the same time, like the front and the back of your hand.
우리는 그것을 이렇게 설명합니다. 손의 모습은 매 순간 다른데 그것을 손짓이라고 한다면 그 손짓은 동시에 손이기도 하다라는 것.
Yes, all the same hand. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nice explanation. Yeah.
그것은 이론적인 설명이라면 당신은 그것을 어떻게 경험하고 있느냐를 묻고 싶어요. Now.
Now, like right now.
Yes,
At this
I know.
moment.
I know. You see, the challenge is it's like asking someone to describe what water tastes like.
Right.
You see what I mean? Well, first of all, it actually feels very ordinary. It just feels like the way things are. There's something very ordinary about it, actually.
Okay.
It also feels like this. As a feeling, it feels like incredible intimacy. Incredible, very, very profound intimacy. And at the same time, very, very ordinary.
Okay. 나도 그런 경험이 있는데 나는 이렇게 느낀다. 개별적인 나라고 여기는 것이 것 역시 경험되고 또 세상이나 다른 사람이라고 여겨지는 것도 내 마음에서 경험되는데 이 둘 다가 진짜 나가 아니라 이 둘 다를 모두 일종의 부분으로 느낀다.
As a part, not as a whole. Can you explain that to me? Experience the world as a part, not as a whole. Can you explain that?
그러니까 나라는 것 역시 마음속의 한 부분이기 때문에 진정한 나는 아닌 거지.
That the I is not true self.
No.
그러니까 중요한
Because
것은
it's part.
내가 경험한다라고 할 때는 나는 의식의 대상이 아닌 것으로 여겨지는데 내가 경험한다고 할 때는 나는 의식의 대상이 아닌 거야. 주체니까. 그럴 때는 마음의 부분으로 여기지 못한다는 거지.
네, 오케이.
근데 지금은 나라는 것 역시 마음의 부분으로 느껴진다 이거지.
Okay, I see. Okay, I understand that. Yes.
A kind of object. The subject is a kind of object. That is a part of my experience. Then can you explain something like this in detail about your experience now?
First of all, I'll do my best. I'm not sure what you're asking, but I'm gonna give it a try. Okay. So in my experience, I would say I can experience myself as a distinct individual, and at the same time, I don't really experience to be a part of the whole as much as I experience myself to be the whole.
근데 내가 말하는 것은 느끼려면 나눠져 있어야 되는 거 아니냐 이 말이야. 지금 전체에서 느낀다고 하는데.
See, but I don't perceive the whole as an object.
그러면 어떻게 알아? Then how do you know? How do you know?
How is it possible that I feel something?
그래서 지금 경험하고 있는.
First of all, I've never really tried to explain it to myself. It is what is experienced. How do I explain that? That's a good question. It's like when I look right now, I look at the phone and I can see the image, right? Would it feel it's like seeing myself in the mirror. That's what it feels like.
거울 속에 나야? 아니면 거울 속에 다른 사람?
No, that's not other person in the mirror, no. It's more like me in the mirror. But remember, me is just a way of expressing it. I don't mean that in a conventional sense. It's just the best word I can come up with.
아, 그러면 어떤 의미지?
The I is just a manner of speaking. Don't give it too much emphasis. When you look into the mirror, okay? If you go home and you look into a mirror, it feels familiar.
Yes.
You don't say to yourself, "I'm looking at myself in the mirror." That's just a means of expression. When you look in the mirror, though, something feels completely familiar, right? Feels like you, even though you're not saying that in language. It feels that way. So that's
Yeah,
the
that's
way
right.
that I'm using the word I and me. More like that.
오케이. 자, 그러면 거울 속에 있는 나를 볼 때는 저게 나이면서도 나는 아니지. 아니라고 느껴집니다. 거울이 벌써 다르기 때문에. 그런데
Yes, I know.
그런데
I know.
내가 지금 비유를 하는 거야. 그런데 지금
Yes, it's
내가
metaphor.
내
I'm
몸을
not
느낄
talking.
내가 내 몸을 느낄 때는 나라고 느껴지지. 자, 두 가지야. 첫 번째,
네.
when I feel my body, it feels like me. But when I feel the me in the mirror, that is not like me. There are some different, right?
Sure.
Yes. This is a kind of metaphor when you say no differentiation. 뭐라니?
네.
예, 분별과 분별 없이
분리
맞췄을 때. 응.
네. 네.
이런 비유라고 해볼 수 있나?
Okay.
당신의 경험을 좀 뭐 이런 식으로 좀 설명해 볼 수 있을까요? 나는 지금 추측해 본 건데 당신의 경험을 당신이 설명할 때는 어떻게 하면 더 정확하겠습니까?
It can't really be explained.
오케이.
It can't be explained. More words. It's in the same way. There's nothing mysterious about this. It's very similar to like if someone had never eaten an orange. If they never ever tasted what an orange tastes like, you could never ever explain it to them so that all the explanations would not taste anything like an orange.
오케이. 그렇지만 지금 우리가 물어보는 것은 이걸 듣는 사람 중에 오렌지 맛을 잠깐 보고 잊어버렸거나 그 문턱에 와 있는 사람이 있다 이 말이지. 그런 사람들이 들으면 뭔가 와닿을 수 있으리라고 생각하고 얘기를 해준다면 어떻게 할 수 있을까?
First of all, thank you for your patience. I'm going to talk about this in a different way. I think a lot of people have had an experience where it feels like they've almost woken up to a different way of perceiving life. They can taste it, they can feel it. It almost is there, but not quite. Let's start there.
Okay.
They suddenly feel a little closer to the sun, or the wind on their face, or the leaves on a tree. All of a sudden they just feel much closer, much more intimate, and they can feel they're right on the edge of a kind of mystery.
Mm-hmm.
It starts out as just sort of an odd experience that people often just very quickly discount.
Okay.
Okay. So I think people have these little, I call them foretastes, like a foretaste of awakening. People have these little foretastes more often than they think they do.
Okay.
I think if people just paid a little more attention at those kind of odd feeling moments, those strange feeling moments when their perception is just a little bit different than it usually is. If they just paid attention to that, then maybe it would grow.
Okay.
Right? Because we're very conditioned to dismiss anything that's outside of the norm.
오케이. 그런데 그것 역시 어떤 마음의 상태가 바뀌어서 잠시 느껴진 느낌이라고 할 수 있고 그 느낌에 주의를 줘서 그런 느낌을 붙잡으려고 한다면 오히려 그것이 장애를 만들 수도 있지 않나? 네가 하나가 된 느낌이 있었잖아.
네.
그때 그 느낌을 다시 경험하려고 애쓰는 것이 도리어 장애가 될 수도 있지 않겠냐 이런 질문을 합니다.
Yes, I'm not saying we try you hold on to it. I'm not saying you try to hold on to it. I'm saying it's just you just pay attention.
Pay attention.
Not grasp on, but just pay attention.
어떤 차이가 있지 그 두 가지가?
So when you hear a very far off sound, just a little tiny sound, and you don't know what it is, so you just pay attention to it. You listen more to it, right? A very far off sound, so you just pay attention to it. So that's paying attention, right? Grasping would be you hear a far off sound, and you're not just paying attention, but you're almost trying to reach out and own it, hold it. You see? Then there's struggle. There's struggle then, right? There's effort. There's struggle. It's almost more like maybe I could say appreciate. Maybe that's a better word. Not grasp, but appreciate.
붙잡으려고 하는 것은 그것이 뭔지 알았어. 그것을 다시 잡으려고 추구하는 거고, 주의를 주는 것은 그것이 뭔지 아직 몰라. 그래서 지속적으로 탐구를 더 해나가는 거고, 이런 차이가 있는 것 같은데.
Yes. Right. It's curiosity.
Curiosity. 탐구가 뭐야? 탐구.
네?
Like adventure?
Like an adventure. Yes. Yes.
Mm.
Like an adventure.
네.
Right. That's the attitude.
Okay.
I think that attitude is much, much better than the attitude of seeking and grasping and striving.
Okay.
The paradox is that we cannot grasp reality simply because we are reality.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. 그럼 당신이 화가 나고 두렵고 슬프고 뭐 이런 일이 뭐 없다고 할 수 없을 텐데 그럴 때는 분리된 퍼스널리티에 집중돼 있어서 그런 겁니까? 왜 그런 일이 벌어지죠?
No.
No.
What's the
You
difference?
see, there's a lot of myth about, or untruth about, if somebody is in a more awakened state, that they're not going to experience a whole host of emotions, let's say. Right? There's the myth, or the untruth, that the awakened person, it only experiences peaceful, happy, pleasant experiences. And that's simply not true.
Okay.
That would be like saying in enlightenment it's always sunny and it never rains and there's never a storm.
Okay.
Right? I think that the difference though is that this is the real question, I think, is we can have, what is it to have emotion, say anger, without the experience of inner division? Because it's the division, the experience of being divided against yourself or against somebody else. That's what people usually experience when they experience anger. It's an experience of division. So anger may or may not be the best word, but imagine your child is in the middle of the street and there's an oncoming car that's about to hit your child. And so, in order to get your child's attention, you yell in a very angry voice to get out of the street, right? It's a very aggressive, almost angry voice, right? Now that's totally spontaneous. Get your kid out of the street. Get your child out of the street. That doesn't mean that you're angry at your child. You can do that without actually being angry at your child. It's like life used a certain kind of energy that was the most effective energy in that moment.
Okay.
See, then that strong emotion is more like a force of nature than an act of division or even of upset.
여전히 어린 나이에 대해서 큰 소리로 화난 것처럼 말을 할 때는 어린 나이가 있고 어린 나이가 위험한 상황이 있고 뭐 이런 걸 분별하기 때문일 텐데, 다만 그때 사용되는 뭐 분노랄까, 그것은 개별적인 나를 중심으로 내 마음에 맞지 않는 것, 나를 지키는데 위험하다고 생각될 때 쓰이는 분노는 아니고, 저 아이를 위해서 또는 전체를 위해서 쓰여지는 분노라고 할 수 있겠네요. 보통은 나를 지키기 위해서, 내 신념을 지키기 위해서 화가 나는데, 지금 같은 경우에는 역시 분별이 있고 이래야 된다는 신념은 있어. 근데 그 신념이 뭐냐면 저건 안전하지 않아, 아이가 위험에 처하겠어라는 그런 신념 때문에 소리를 지르게 된다는 거지. 역시 다르지만 같은 부분이 있어. 나눠졌다는 측면에서. 자, 다시 정리하자면, 우리가 보통 우리가 일반적으로 화를 낼 때는 내 신념이나 내 믿음이 깨져 나갈 때 화가 난단 말이지. 근데 지금 같은 경우에는 내 신념보다는, 내 개별성보다는 저 아이가 위험에 처했어 라는 그런 믿음이지. 그 믿음 역시 일종의 믿음이야. 근데 나를 위한 믿음이 아니고 전체를 위한 믿음을 기반해서 화가 나는 거지.
Yes, yes. I think I agree. I think what you're saying is that there's a big difference between, say, protecting a child and protecting nothing but a mere belief.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a big difference, because you're right. When we're protecting a belief, just simply a mere belief, that's a egoic protection, right?
Okay. 그런 식으로 당신의 모든 감정이 쓰인다는 겁니까?
Yes, exactly.
모든 감정이?
Oh, I don't know. I would have to reflect. I wouldn't claim that kind of perfection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah. My only point was that I think it's a mistake if we equate enlightenment with the absence of certain emotions. But that's a little too simplistic.
나도 그렇게 생각하는데, 만약에 그렇다면 그것은 인간의 마음의 기능이 불능인 것으로 가는 거라고 여겨진다.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
그래서 감정에 끌려다니지 않고 감정을 적절히 사용하는 측면이 로 바뀌는 것 같다.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So that emotion is not captive to the separate ego.
Okay.
You know, it's like the positive side would be like the experience of you look up into the sky and it feels like as if the sun is smiling through you. That's an emotion too. That's like the positive side of emotion where it feels like the world is experiencing itself through you or having emotion through your body, mind.
Okay. 마지막으로 한 번 더 묻고자 하는 것은 분리와 분리 없음을 동시에 경험한다는 것을 어떻게 느낄 수 있을까? 당신이 말하기를 일반적으로 우리가 그런 경험을 조금씩 한다고 그랬는데 일상에서 그런 사람들이 어느 순간 친밀하게 느껴지고 뭔가 또는 뭐 하나 된 듯하고 되길 돌아보지 않아서 그것이 커지지 않았다 그랬는데 그것을 돌아보려면 어떠한 측면에 좀 더 주의를 줘야 될까? 분리와 분리 없으면 그 순간에 동시에 있다는 의미일 텐데.
Okay. The quickest, the most immediate answer to that is to simply stop. Stop, be still. Okay? That's the most direct answer. Since most people can't do that.
No.
Right? Okay, so
No.
then you have the next answer.
Okay.
If they just take one moment and they just ask themselves, really, deep down, really, who am I? Now, if they're paying attention, they will immediately realize that they do not know who they are. And at that moment, they will be having a very intimate experience of the mystery of their own being. So I would suggest people be open to pay attention to that sense of the mystery of their being. Just a felt sense that they don't really know who they are. And that's a feeling of a mystery. And pay attention to that feeling of mystery. Right? Don't try to answer the question. Just sense the mystery of being.
Okay.
That's simple.
Simple but difficult.
Yes, simple but difficult. It's difficult because it's simple.
Yes.
Yes, I know. You know too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.